If you'd like to make your NFL games a little more interesting, you've come to the right place. It's the Even Money Podcast with Ross Tucker and Steve Fezzik.
Yeah, Vegas, baby, Vegas. It is the Even Money Podcast presented by DraftKings, America's #1 rated sportsbook app. And this begins our official plays for the 2021 NFL season. We will go over each and every one of our season win total bets that we would make right now, by the way, at 11:16 a.m. Eastern Time on August 31st. We know transactions are happening throughout the day. We know Cam just got cut, but this is when we do the show. Okay, so this is when we do the show, and the bets we make on today's show are based upon that information that we have right now. When I say we, I'm talking about not only me, but Steve Fezzik, the only two-time winner of the Super Contest at the Westgate, which is the Super Bowl of professional football gambling. You can follow Steve on social media at Fezzik Sports. I'm at Ross Tucker NFL. We are at Ross Tucker Pod. And Steve, I saw your tweet the other day. Somebody came up to you and said you got lucky in the Super Contest. Is that right?
Well, they didn't specify which contest, so they just said you got so lucky to win both those contests, to which I responded, I did get extremely lucky. I ran like God to win both of the South Point contests. Oh, and I won the Westgates twice also.
You won the South Point twice?
I did. It's just not as prestigious a contest. There was about 90 people that entered. I actually had 2 entries one year and both tied for first with one other person.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome. I didn't know that. Very, very cool. All right. So I think everybody knows the drill. We do these shows in 30 minutes or less. Our track record speaks for itself. We are engaging now for the 2021 season with some official plays, starting with the season win totals. We'll go through every team, and we'll either have a lean or we'll put a unit or 2 units on it. Steve, I know you wanted to make a point, however, about just the NFC in general.
Yes, and there's 2 biases, and this is probably the most important part of this podcast. Pay attention. There is a bias towards the numbers being too high in Vegas. Why? Because people want to bet on their teams. If you sum the average of all the season wins being dealt, it should be 8.5, right? 17-game season. Actually 8.45 when you account for the fact there'll likely on average be 1 tie. Last year was Philly, Cincinnati. However, the actual average is 8.6. So meaning the average is 8.5 with a vig to the over. That sounds like a trivial difference. It's not, Ross. It is a big enough difference that if you bet every team to go under, you're probably going to eke out a profit. If you bet every team over, you're going to get crushed, more than likely. So you want to look to play unders, but you want to really look to play NFC team unders. Why? 9 road games. Every expert out there, even the ones I greatly respect, have been calculating strength of schedule based upon the 17 teams you play, but they're not factoring the fact that you have an extra game on the road. That's significant as well. It's a double whammy for the NFC teams, 9 road games, and this bias towards higher numbers. You want to play select NFC teams under is the optimal way to play season wins.
Okay. Well, let's see if you end up putting your money where your mouth is, so to speak, and go ahead and do that as we dive into some of these teams. Of course, all of the bets that we're looking at come to us from the DraftKings Sportsbook, where you can still bet $1 on any college football game or any NFL game using the code Ross and get $200 in credits, which is amazing. Let's start, Steve, with the Green Bay Packers. Their under-over is 10. Now at DraftKings, it's minus 165 to the over, but the number is 10. We go by DraftKings lines, and that's the number.
I could only lean over the total for Green Bay. I mean, they win 13 games the last 2 years. Has that much really changed? The Vikings are having some issues with quarterbacks not getting vaxxed. The Lions should be absolutely awful. Lean Packers over.
So for me, I'm putting 2 units on the Packers over. I think the Lions are going to be horrendous. I don't think the Bears are going to be very good. I think the Vikings, quite frankly, have a bunch of challenges right now. And you said it, Steve, they won 13 games the last 2 years in a 16-game slate. And now they're not going to win at least 10 to get a push in a 17-game slate. There's almost no scenario where they win less than 10 unless Rodgers gets a significant injury, in my mind. I think it's much more likely that they win 11, 12, 13. 2 units on the Packers over. All right. Now let's get to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their line is 8.5, Steve. And the under has the juice, minus 135 to the under.
Strong lean to the under on Pittsburgh. You know, this is one I gave out to my clients early in the summer. Love Pittsburgh under, specifically number one reason, go from one of the easiest schedules in the NFL to one of the hardest this year, and a lot of close wins last year. But I got to tell you, Big Ben actually surprised me. I thought he played well in the preseason, and you got now 3 good wide receivers, and Najee Harris looks like the real deal. Just a strong lean under.
I'm going over on the Pittsburgh Steelers for 1 unit. Defense is still very good. Skill very good. O-line can't be worse. And I'll believe the Steelers don't have a winning record when I see it. I think they get to 9 or 10 wins. How about the Denver Broncos at 8.5?
Going to lean over with the Denver Broncos, an absolute stellar squad that was decimated with injuries last year, much healthier this year. That defense is going to be great. And the fact, if you've been paying any attention to preseason, the one team that the buy sign is blinking on, it's Teddy Bridgewater, and even Locke played well in the preseason. Strong lean over Denver.
It's just a lean for me over as well for the reasons that you already mentioned. How about the Philadelphia Eagles? Their over-under is 6.5. The juice is to the over.
Yeah, I'll take the under and the plus money. The Eagles with Hurts. I had Hurts as the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. Well, now he's second worst because I think Mac Jones is the worst to start the season. But not too much uncertainty at head coach. And if you have a bad head coach and you have a bad quarterback, you tend to go under year after year. Eagles under 2 units.
Wow. We're going head-to-head on this one. I'm putting 1 unit on the Eagles over. They've got a very good offensive line, a very good defensive line. They had the worst quarterback in the NFL last year. I feel like if Jalen Hurts throws 3 less picks and takes 3 less sacks than Wentz, that's another win or 2 right there. As long as he's not the worst quarterback, and I don't think he will be, I think the Eagles win 7 or 8 games. I like the over. We're head-to-head there. Buffalo, their number's 11 with the juice to the over.
Number is probably a little bit light. It could even be higher if Josh Allen can just play like he did last year. I'm not sure he can. He went from a QBR of 24th, then 24th, and then 4th. This year he'll probably be 8th. If that's the case, the number's right. I'm neutral. Pass.
I would say that I'm pretty neutral too. I think 11's the right number. I guess if I had to, I would take the over, but I don't have much of a lean there at all. What about the Rams at 10.5, Steve?
I think lean over with the Rams. You know, I just can't see the Rams not being a strong contender. Now that they have a quarterback, they still are good at wide receiver. You know, that the Rams are paper thin, though. So what could train wreck us if they do get injured? If they don't get injured, they're going to win 12 games. Strong lean over.
Yeah, I would probably lean over as well. The competitiveness of that division is the thing that scares me a little bit. I think they could all end up being, between 9, 10, 11 wins in that realm. What about the Patriots? Their over-under is 9.5. And this is after the Cam Newton news, and the juice is to the under 9.5.
I will lean over with the Patriots. I would have much rather started the season with Cam under center. So no one knows how good Mac Jones is more than the Patriots. Just a lean now over.
So for the Patriots, man, I think that number's right. I will probably lean under and think that they win 8 or 9 games. I would lean under on the Patriots. We'll see what happens when Mac Jones isn't going against such vanilla defenses. What about the Chiefs at 12.5, Steve, with the juice to the under?
I looked at the Chiefs, and everyone talks about how, they really weren't very good last year, the second half of the year, and they weren't covering. Well, they won at New Orleans by 3. They won at Tampa by 3, and they won at Miami by 6. And all 3 of those games, they got backdoored against the spread. But if you look at the overall results, wow, were those stellar results. 12.5 is sky high. The Chiefs are great. I'm going to pass.
This is a tough one for me. I had Bill Barnwell on Monday's show. He mentioned the Chiefs 8-0 in those one-score games on Monday's Ross Tucker Football Podcast. That's a pretty good point. I would lean over on the Chiefs at 12.5, but it's just a lean. What about the Colts? Their over-under number is now 9, Steve. It was higher. I know that.
Yeah, shop around because there are some 9.5s out there. Absolutely an under. I think that this is a train wreck that's about to happen to start the year. The strength of the Colts, really good squad, really good O-line. Now the O-line has injuries, COVID issues across the board, and Carson Wentz, no practice time with the team. You look at that schedule, the first 4 games, the Colts were favored a month ago. Now those same 4 games, they're underdogs in each and every one of those games, under 2 units on the Colts.
So we have a best bet, Steve, our first best bet of the 2021 season. I'm with you. I loved it at 9.5. Loved it. But we go by DraftKings Sportsbook because that's our sportsbook. They've got 9 right now. I'll still put 2 units on the under. I'd be surprised if they got to 10 wins. I think at worst case scenario, I feel like they push. Carson Wentz, who knows if he even stays healthy or can play effectively with this injury. Now, I don't think T.Y. Hilton will play all year. Frank Reich says he hopes that they have him back, but he's got a disc issue in his neck that we talked about on yesterday's Ross Tucker Football Podcast. No thank you. Under on the Colts. It's a best bet, Bri.
The best bet.
The New York Jets number is 6 with the juice to the under, Stevie.
Wow, 6 is so low, and there's some people that I respect that say the Jets are going to be way better. I'm not so sure, Ross. You know what? I just don't know how the rookie quarterback's going to play. He looked good in preseason. It's a pass.
It's a pass for me as well. I think that they're about a 6-11 team, but Zach Wilson looked too good in the preseason to go under. He just did. But I'm not going over yet with that organization. They got some real challenges on defense. What about the Jags at 6.5, Steve?
I'm going to go under 6.5. I am not impressed by most of what I saw from the Jags. Trevor Lawrence finally had a good preseason game playing against backups for the Cowboys. But the bottom line is you got a bad O-line and you've got bad wide receivers. The one strength of the team, running back, just took a huge hit with ETN going down for the year. Trevor Lawrence is not used to losing games. Urban Meyer's not used to losing games. I think this could be a big, big adjustment for both of them when they start 1-5 under 2 units, Jags.
Yeah, we've got another best bet here. I just don't see them getting to 7 wins. O-line is not good. Defense not very good. Urban Meyer's clearly figuring some things out. So is Trevor Lawrence. I think they're a better team than they were last year. I think they win 4 or 5 games. 7? I don't think so. 2 units under 6.5 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Another AFC South best bet.
The best bet.
Let's talk Saints. Their over-under right now is 9. I think that came down a little bit. Was that 9.5 too, Steve, or was that always 9?
Believe it was 9.5 for a short period of time. Yes, and it's been steady money against the Saints throughout the summer.
All right. Slight, ever so slight juice to the under right now. What do you got?
Best bet under. I don't want to cross talk about natural disasters. I just want to make money betting, and this distraction of the hurricane is enormous. I already didn't like the Saints. I don't like the fact that all of a sudden Jameis Winston, because he throws 2 bombs into coverage and throws perfect passes, and Callaway makes the 2 greatest catches of his career, both previous and in the future, I will predict. There's no wide receivers. Michael Thomas, AWOL, injured, unhappy. And if Jameis Winston threw all those interceptions with Mike Evans and Godwin as wide receivers, how is he going to throw the ball downfield to these cast of characters? One of the worst wide receivers in the NFL. Saints under 9 wins, 2 units.
So this is just a lean for me. They have a really good offensive line. Really good offensive line. I don't know yet how much stock to put in the distraction of what's going on, unfortunately, for people in Louisiana. Thoughts and prayers with everyone down there. No power. It's 100 degrees out right now. I mean, that is brutal. Let's get to the Buccaneers. Their number is 12, Steve.
And the Bucs are absolutely loaded. Everyone knows it. That's why their number's sky high. If anything, I'm going to lean over Ross, but I don't play over 12, so just a lean.
Yeah, it's a lean over for me as well. Pretty much everything you just said. Let's get to the Ravens. Their over-under is 11 after they just lost J.K. Dobbins for the season, Steve.
Yeah, and I'm going to be neutral on the Ravens. That's a big hit for Baltimore. Congratulations on Harbaugh, 20-0 in the preseason. Way to play your starters and get one of the key ones injured already. I pass.
This is a good number. I think 11-6 is the right number for them. If I had to go, I would lean under for the Ravens. I don't think they're going to win 12 games. So it would be a lean to the under for the Baltimore Ravens. Let's get to the Bengals. Their number is 6.5, Steve, with no real juice. 6.5 for the Bengals.
Yeah, the AFC North is really up against it because last year all these teams got to play the NFC East and they got to play a cupcake division in the AFC as well. So all their strength of schedules are spiking through the roof. Much more difficult. Bengals 7-10 sounds overly optimistic to me. Burrow's having issues. 1 unit Bengals under 6.5.
Another best bet. I don't see them getting to 7. Their offensive line, their defense, not in that division. I mean, they are clearly last in that division. So to think they'll get to 7 wins, I don't see it. I mean, they've barely won it all the last years. I don't think they have a very good coach. I think maybe they get 4 or 5 wins, but it's 2 units on the under 6.5 for the Bengals. It's the best bet.
The best bet.
Speaking of best bets, Steve, I should mention PicksWise is the #1 home of free sports betting picks, props, and parlays, helmed by a team of trend-watching, data-devouring sports fanatics, giving you the who, the how, and the why behind every prediction. For every game, every day, and every sport, all for free, visit PicksWise.com to make your next bet better. PicksWise backs responsible gambling. If you or someone you know wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's get to the Falcons. Bill Barnwell made the case yesterday on the Falcons being better than people think. Their number is 7.5, no juice.
Yeah, I don't know if Bill Barnwell watches preseason, and I do. And all that optimism for Atlanta, they got bet up from 7 to 7.5 wins with Vig to the over. Well, that optimism has faded completely with me. This team looks completely unprepared with a brand new head coach, and brand new head coaches like to win in preseason, and Atlanta was horrendous in preseason throughout their 3 games. And the more I look at this, I'm like, no Julio, average wide receivers now with Ridley, an aging Matt Ryan, no running game, bad defense, under 7.5, 2 units.
This is a pass for me. I would probably lean to the under, but it's a pass. I think that's just about the right number. Washington football team, 8.5, Steve.
Yeah, lean over with Washington. All the money's been on them. Open 8 and up to 8.5. I agree with the move. I'm a Fitzmagic guy, and that defense is going to be nasty. The only concern I have is that defense got to feast against 3 division rivals that all had banged up bad O-lines last year. So maybe that D-line's a little overrated. I still would lean over.
Yeah, it's a 1 unit over for me. I think they're the best team in the NFC East. I think they win 9 or 10 games. They won last year with very subpar quarterback play. Let's keep it in that division and go to the Giants. Their number is 7, Steve.
Yeah, strong lean to the under. If I could have gotten 7.5, it would have been a best bet. Bad O-line. I don't believe in Daniel Jones. Defense is average. Strong lean under.
I'll put a unit on the under. I mean, I don't think they're going to win 8 games. And so I think worst case scenario, they push. O-line is still a major issue. Daniel Jones, an issue. The defense, I mean, I'll put 1 unit on the under 7 for the New York Giants. What about the Titans?
You know, we're going to best bet it. I'm going to put a unit on the Giants under. You talked me into it. Best bet.
The best bet.
Gosh, this is fun. Lots of best bets. Love putting units on the line for you guys like we've done for at least 5 years. By the way, there's all kinds of betting podcasts popping up. We've been here for a long time, and our track record speaks for itself. Titans, under over 9, and heavy juice to the over 9.
Yeah, so the Titans, sexy team, really good offense, suspect defense, the type of team I want to fade. We'll take a piece of Derrick Henry under 1,550 rush yards after getting all those carries the last 2 years. That's certainly a supplemental best bet I'll give out. But in terms of fading Tennessee, the division's just too weak, man. 5-1 in division seems like not a too high of a hurdle, so I'll pass on the Titans.
Yeah, it would just be a lean to the over for me, but I think they win the division probably with 9 wins, maybe 10. I think it's that bad of a division this year. Dolphins are at 9.5, Steve, with some juice to the under.
All right, so the Dolphins had a lot of breaks last year. Fitzmagic bailed them out. They had weird games, like they beat the Rams by 11 points, where they got outgained by 350 yards and got like 17 return touchdowns or setups for it. All right, maybe not that much. But a lot of guys I respect really, really like the coach and that Miami Dolphin defense. I'm going to pass.
I would lean under here. Jury is still out on Tua there for me. And I do feel like the Jets and Patriots are better than they were a year ago. So I'll just lean under. Niners are at 10.5. Feels like a pretty high number for the Niners, Steve.
Niners are coming off that Super Bowl loss. Last year doesn't matter because last year they were the most injured team in the NFL. If you told me Jimmy G would play all year long, I would best bet the over. But I'm worried that Trey Lance is going to get too many snaps and maybe even some starts because of that just a strong lean to a healthy 49er team. The last time I checked, led Kansas City by 10 late in the Super Bowl.
So, yeah, this is just a pass for me. The quarterback situation is one to monitor. It's hard to imagine Jimmy G starting the whole year. And if that's the case, do they get to 11 or 12 wins? I just don't know. How about the Cowboys over under of 9, Steve?
Yeah, the Cowboys certainly have dysfunctionality written all over them. I think that's a word. I don't like McCarthy. Amazing how good Green Bay got when he went ahead and retired to getting massages and the like. And now he's embracing analytics. I've not been impressed from what I've seen from Hard Knocks. I don't know if Dak's healthy. We're going to go under Cowboys 1 unit.
Yeah, I'm close to that. I think I'm just going to lean under on the Cowboys right now. They've got some real health concerns for me. By the way, I just saw this while we're recording. David Bakhtiari is going to stay on the PUP list for the Packers. That means he misses the first 6 games. That's not great for my over bet that I just said 10 minutes ago. Information that could have been helpful to me yesterday, Ian Rappaport. Anyway, do you know that movie, Steve?
No, what's the reference?
Wedding Singer. When Adam Sandler gets stood up at the altar, and the next day, later that day, she's like, I just couldn't go through with it. I just couldn't marry a wedding singer. And he says, once again, information that could have been very helpful for me yesterday. Oh, I love that movie. Sir, I have the microphone, and I will strangle you with it. Awesome. Arizona Cardinals, 8.5, Steve.
All right, I'm going to go under for Arizona for 1 unit. Let me make my case. Strength of schedule is harder, but what really stood out to me, Arizona got to play the NFC East, and they got to play the AFC East last year, and they went 6-2. They got 2 wins in division, and their field games, they lost to Detroit and Carolina. So now with a much more difficult schedule, and you look at their 3 third-place games that they have to play, one of them's at Cleveland. Another one's against the Cowboys. Third one against Carolina. That's a brutal third-place schedule that they got dealt this year. 1 unit under Arizona.
I'm kind of with you, actually. I'll put 1 unit on the under for Arizona as well. They tried to bring in a bunch of old guys to try to make one last gasp effort at this with Kingsbury and I think Keim and Kyler. The Killer K's, I guess. But I'll put 1 unit on the Cardinals. I think they win 7 or 8 games. Let's go best bet.
The best bet.
The Raiders number is only 7, Steve, with slight juice to the over.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on the Raiders. Great offense, really bad defense, questionable coach. I don't know what's going on with Gruden. Further, there's a lot of distractions in Las Vegas that makes it very difficult for the players to bring it each and every week. And we saw some notable no-shows for the Raiders last year, including getting blown out badly at Atlanta. I'm going to pass.
Passing as well. I guess I would lean over, but I'm going to pass. Panthers are at 7.5, Steve.
You know, I'm going to go ahead and buy the Panthers for a strong lean over. You can tell I don't like to play NFC teams over. Everything points to the Panthers being much better this year. C-Mac comes back, obviously. Good wide receivers. Defense should improve. Their whole draft last year was defense, and a COVID year, I think that those guys are going to take a year to gel. But I don't believe in Sam Darnold at all, so I cannot put my money on it. Just a strong lean over.
I'm going to lean to the under for the Carolina Panthers. I don't like their offensive line, and I think Darnold leaves a lot to be desired still. What about the Seahawks, whose number is 10?
So the Seahawks never get any respect, and all they do is have a winning year after year. And if that's the case, the only number, if you play under, you can win on is 9. Boy, is that division stacked, though. I'm going to pass Seattle.
That's the right number for the Seahawks. 10 is the right number. I got nothing on them. Chargers, 9.5. The Chargers are.
I don't know what to do with the Chargers. The fact that you're replacing a horrendous coach in terms of game management typically would put me right to the over, but there's going to be fans in the stands, and that's bad news for the Nomad Chargers that have no fans whatsoever. Those are going to be home games for their opponents in most of the cases. And because of that, I don't think anyone's really factoring that in enough for the home field disadvantage of the Chargers. And obviously, crowds are going to hurt them when they hit the road. I'll pass.
Passing as well. I would have liked them at a lower number with the head coach swap, but 9.5, a little too rich for my blood. The Bears are down to 7.5, Steve.
Yeah, and they should be down. The Bears, there's nothing to like, in my opinion. You know, no one's talking about this, Ross. You got a very a gifted rookie quarterback Fields that's going to take over for Andy Dalton sooner rather than later. Well, when's the weather going to turn in Chicago? Having lived there for 6 years, it's going to turn by Halloween. And right about that time, Fields will probably be making his 5th start. So, all right, he looks great scrambling the like. Let's see how he does in 16 degrees with the wind chill and the wind coming in off the lake. I'm going to go under for the Bears 2 units.
I'll put 1 unit on the under for the Bears as well. I think their defense is still pretty good, but the offensive line is a mess. I think they'll go to Fields early. I just don't like the vibes I'm getting from that team right now. 1 unit on the under, 7.5. That's the best bet.
The best bet.
Texans are down to 4, Steve. 4.
Texans stink, and everyone knows it. Lean over, just a lean.
4 is the right number. I'm not going over, but I'm not going under 4 either. What about the Lions at 4.5?
The Lions stink, and everybody knows it. Pass.
I feel like Goff's a good enough quarterback that they're going to win 5 games. I mean, I'm not going to do it, but I would lean over for the Lions. But their receivers, I mean, it's crazy. Running backs hurt. O-line, Sewell has issues. They got problems going into this season. What about the Browns at 10.5, Steve?
Strong lean under. I'm holding out for an 11. The Browns on paper should win the Super Bowl. I believe they could have up to 9 new defensive starters. With that much transition, I cannot trust Cleveland. Just a strong lean right now to the under.
So I'm going to lean over. I think they're really good. I think they're going to be really good. I think they're one of the best teams in the NFL. But I think Pittsburgh and Baltimore are pretty good too. And so it's hard to get to 11, 12, 13 wins. That number's a little rich for me, so it's just a lean. What about the Vikings at 8.5, Steve?
By the way, the Browns did go 8-0 last year against the NFC East and the AFC East against their cupcake schedule. The Vikings, I was sky high to the over. This was one of my first bets. Max bet over 8.5. In Zimmer, we trust. Mission team, lots of injury issues. Lost 4 key defensive starters last year. And then this preseason, this nonsense about the quarterbacks refusing to get vaccinated. And I worry about the team chemistry. And Zimmer's always been good in preseason. And the Vikings have stunk this year in preseason. That's a red flag blinking. I pass.
It's a pass for me as well. I really wanted to take the over with them. But the Darrisaw injury, some of the other issues they've had, I can't do it. I guess I'll just lean over. But man, I'm disappointed in a bunch of things they've got going this preseason. That'll do it. A bunch of best bets. Tell everybody you know about this show. This is the show the pros listen to because we have Steve Fezzik and you don't. At Fezzik Sports. I'm at Ross Tucker NFL. We're at Ross Tucker Pod. Please rate and review the show. Please spread the word via social media. Other than that, good luck, everybody. Hope you guys win some money.
Thanks for listening to the Even Money Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, the Fantasy Feast, Business of Sports, and the College Draft. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.
A lot of times on the show, I mentioned DraftKings. Here's what you need to know. You got to be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. By the way, if what I was talking about included a deposit bonus, doesn't always, sometimes it does. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough, and deposit bonuses are paid out in site credit.